everyone. Welcome to the Saturday night Sonder Social setup for the week 4 of June. My name is Katie Gideon, and I am dialing in from Edinburgh, Scotland. But I am also part of the former team Texas. So you also have my amazing wonderful co-facilitator in the chat, Jennifer O, who is dialing in from Texas. So again, Team Texas is here. Wouldn't be a Saturday night, or I feel like it wouldn't be at some point a weekly social without Team Texas. But we are glad that you all are here. I love seeing all of our returning social names in the chat. It is absolutely like seeing wonderful friends that you now get to spend the next hour with and hang out. So if you are new, which I started to see some new people or some people who maybe haven't been here in a while, we are glad that you're here. We're glad that you have come as you are. So definitely make sure you have that June journal with you. If not, you can definitely grab some scratch paper, post-it notes. And then if you want to join us in the chat, make sure you have it set to everyone so that everyone can see it. If it just is listed to hosts and panelists, which is the default, that comes to myself and Jennifer, which we are happy to engage in that way as much as possible. But just keep that in mind, especially if you're kind of wanting to share with the larger group, provide support, celebrate all of those wonderful things. So before we get started, as always, be kind and courteous to yourself and others. No promotions or spam. Respect everyone's privacy. No hate speech or bullying. Limit repetitive product and accessory questions. And while Jennifer and I have some information, a lot of the unique and individual customer care inquiries will need to go to hello@silkensonder.com. So if you have any of those questions, Jennifer and I may redirect you that direction. And as always, Sonder Socials are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community, but you are responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions. So with that in mind, just relax, have fun, get something to drink, get something to get comfy. However you want to tackle your week is going to be how you see the best way to do it. We're going to provide some examples, we're going to provide some options and motivation, but that doesn't mean it has to be done. And especially if you're new, there is a certain cadence with the socials that sometimes it just takes getting used to. Sometimes you want to be in the chat, sometimes you want to be in the chat and in your journal, sometimes you want to just shut the chat down and be there with just you and the slides and the music. Sometimes I'm too much, mute me, mute the music. There's certainly anything that you want to have here. It is what you need. It is the specific time that you have set aside to spend on you for the next hour on whatever self-care journey you are on. We are glad that you're here. We are glad that you have come as you are, and we can't wait to set up this next week with all of you. So we are still in this month's theme of Thrive, which I did think was really fun because I found this Kleenex box that says Thrive on it. And it says laughter under the sun, dancing under the moon, vinyl records being spun, which I think is a really fun motivational Kleenex box that also serendipitously matches the color scheme of my mind map. So of course, I'm going to continue to thrive with my Kleenex box. But the other kind of digger deep into the theme of Thrive is different kind of aspects of how we can include it. So the first couple weeks, it was kind of what's the definition of Thrive? How can you use that as an end goal? Last week, I focused in on how you can thrive in or thrive on something, kind of bringing that environmental component or those circumstances that you can kind of create to turn Thrive into actionable. And then along the way, I know I have benefited and I continue to thrive for people having faith and confidence and all of those amazing kind of support in me. And that kind of came about one of the old supervisors I worked for who was a big advocate for my kind of professional change over here to Scotland from Texas. He reached out just as kind of a check-in, and being able to sit there and thank him for all of the work that he's done, because I know I am certainly doing very well over here, and I certainly wouldn't be thriving without the support and confidence that I've had on a professional level. So this, I feel like, is a week I kind of want to include, is the how can I reflect on people who are helping me thrive and continue to help me thrive. Also, how am I maybe helping someone else thrive? Because sometimes there are days where maybe you are not the star of the show, you are merely the supporting cast, and how can you make them kind of put their best foot forward? And I kind of did this a little independent of the mind map, but maybe a little bit of a spoiler alert with what we're going to focus on in the mind map. So that's kind of where I'm going to kind of spend my last week reflecting on Thrive, is who are those folks that help me and continue to help me thrive in my environment as is. So we're going to do the last question for our Thrive mind map, and then we're going to do the Rosebud Thorn, and then move into those wonderful weekly setup pages. So if you haven't done the mind map before, this is something that is unique to the weekly setups. And so on a blank piece of paper, blank note page, blank scratch page section, this is where we've kind of create the opportunity to dive a little bit deeper into each month's theme, looking at different components of those. So as we think of these, this can be an ongoing growth both inside and out. They can be physically, mentally, socially, or kind of all of the above achievements. And so these can look at specific part of your life, specific parts of your career, or can be all encompassing for those things. And don't worry, we know that there's potentially another kind of weekend in June. We'll have a bonus question for that. So you just need to worry about the 4 particular squares for this, because we've covered those 4 weeks. And if you're just now joining us, we do include the previous weeks there as prompts, but do not feel like you have that you're behind and you have to catch up. These are just kind of nice additional items that you can use to kind of explore the theme, but they're just there if you want. We treat it as a little bit as a river. You can kind of stick your toe in as you need it. You can come hang out in a floaty. You can get on your paddleboard canoe, or you can kind of walk away, go spend some time in the city, and always come back to the Silk and Sonder River. So we are on week 4, which is contribution. So these are feelings that are making a positive impact on the world is a key factor in thriving. This area focuses on finding ways to use your skills and talents to help others, contribute to a cause you care about, or simply leave the world a better place when you found it. So that's kind of the general idea of where we're going. Don't worry, I've kind of narrowed it down into maybe another question or other ways to reframe this on the next slide. And I will go back amongst all of these 3 when I come off camera, and you can start working on it. So the prompt itself is embrace thriving in the area of contribution. How can you spend time, celebrate your contributions, or show your gifts and talents to your world? Because the first thing I noticed was it used the term world, which to me can be really daunting. So I already kind of scratched out the idea of world and changed it to the terms of your world. So those are the kind of talents in my world. I have kind of zoomed in a little bit, because having to kind of change the world, I mean, that'll keep you up well into the night, and that's not something I want to spend time and energy on. I just want to be able to control what I can, and that's my little world. And so then you can break this down into either one skill or talent that you have that helps others, or you can ask yourself, how can you show more of your talents and skills to your world? Because sometimes, a lot of times, we shield a lot of that. I think it feels with kind of being told not to be, brag too much, overly self-confident, all of those things. But there are definitely unique talents and skills that all of us bring to the table that someone absolutely could benefit from. Or you can also celebrate the impacts that you have that allow someone else to thrive. And then, as always, these can be quotes continuing about thriving, flourishing, blooming, and affirmations, especially around those impacts. I focus on the fact that I love to teach or coach or mentor, but not in that traditional sense of, I know something, I'm not going to tell you that something. It's cultivating that relationship of, here are these kind of really nice ideas. I'm going to share my experiences with you so that you can take those and turn those and make them your own. I certainly love all of those things, because I know I've been a very unique kind of grown-up professional situation where I've seen a lot, done a lot, been able to fail epically, and learn just so much, and being able to share that in any sort of scale I really enjoy. Especially at certain ages. I was a soccer coach for a really long time, and the 12 to 14-year-old girls absolutely stole my heart. So it's those type of relations building there. Also continuing to kind of embrace my hobbies, and never taking myself too seriously, because I feel like that is a really unique way to share kind of those talents, skills, and ideas. And there's definitely going to be people that, may not like it, may not like you, and that's okay, because I am still being authentically me, and I can just move forward with it, because it's not going to keep me up at night, but it's certainly going to continue to make me happy. But I know that that was a very hard kind of mental switch to turn off, So certainly all of those things. So, like I said, our mind map week 4 is contribution. We are thriving in the area of contribution. How can you spend time, celebrate your contributions, or show your gifts and talents to your world? And we'll see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing. I loved the kind of focused intentionality around some of those really vulnerable groups that we support either through professional work or volunteering around some of our educators as well as healthcare professionals. But then also being able to volunteer our time and energy is great for whatever organization's there. And so I feel like you have kind of the intentional ways that you contribute, but then I think so much of our contributions are also kind of instinctual. And Jennifer was putting some of those examples of, do you always return your cart, your shopping cart? Do you choose to support small businesses? Do you support that kind of favorite local coffee shop or your local cafe that you like? So many of those things that we just kind of naturally do. Same thing with we're doing decluttering or if we're donating. Same thing with even just the monetary contributions at the end of the year, especially around the holidays. I feel like there's so much of those things that we just either naturally do or instinctively do that would fall into kind of your contributions to how your local community can thrive, but also how the people in your local community can thrive. So it is impacting the world around you as well as the kind of larger world in those little things. So sometimes it is just this tiny effort to take either a little bit more of a slightly intentional approach or just to sit there and notice that a lot of the small steps can actually lead to kind of big practices. And it kind of goes with what Chris is saying is what kind of legacy are you leaving? So it's kind of those things about how are you teaching, how are you showing, how are you continuing to contribute so that not only are you thriving, but those around you are thriving as well. And as always, if you did have a little bit of a tricky time with this, you have the rest of the week to come back and revisit this. But it's certainly an opportunity, especially kind of mid-year. I feel like a lot of this kind of thriving in contributions sometimes only gets focused around the holidays, and that's kind of end of year holidays. So the opportunity to kind of use this as a midpoint check-in, I think, is really great. And certainly another opportunity to just kind of revisit some of those core values that we know are there. So thank you everyone for sharing. Now we're going to continue on our reflection with the rosebud thorn, which is a really, really great opportunity to reflect on the previous week that you had, whether it was good, bad, or everything in between. It is an opportunity to acknowledge those. So please join us on page 50 in your June journal. So not only is this kind of an acknowledgement of the roses, the buds, and the thorns, but I also use it as a litmus test to figure out what kind of mentality am I in. Was it quick for me to find a rose? Did I struggle finding a thorn? Am I not quite excited about something coming up? So maybe I struggled with the bud, or maybe all of those things came really quickly and really easily. So that means I'm going to have a wild and wacky week ahead of me. So for the rose, that is a highlight, something that went well, something that made you smile, something that made you happy, something that you're excited about, and there is no scale for those roses. For me, I've been doing a drama class, and we played a game where we had to create characters that were sitting on a park bench that you then wanted no one to sit with you. So you had to kind of come up with a nagging or annoying character, or someone that you, when they see you sitting there, they don't want to sit next to you. And this was absolutely right up my alley. I love creating characters. I love creating things outside my comfort zone that I'm not associated with. So if you need an annoying 8-year-old or a cult member, that was kind of my area of expertise. So I'm pretty sure I own this game, but it was really fun. I really enjoyed it. And so it was definitely a highlight of my week. But that is going to be an emerging opportunity, something that you're excited about, something that you're looking forward to, or maybe something that is out on the horizon that you haven't quite figured out what's going to be yet, but it is there and you want to acknowledge it. My birthday is next Saturday. It's the 29th, so I'm really excited. I certainly enjoy my birthday. I don't always advertise it in mass quantities because I've reached the point where it's like I just really enjoy sitting and reading a book and doing whatever I want to do on my own time frame. But really excited. I think it's always fun to be able, and I'm very lucky that I get to spend it in as many countries as I have. But it does usually mean not necessarily around the people that love and care for me the most, but it always makes for really fun phone calls. And then Thorn is going to be a challenge, something that maybe it didn't go so well, something that was a speed bump, a roadblock, kind of all of those things, certainly something that maybe you need some extra support on, and just the opportunity to kind of throw it out into the universe as just something that kind of, didn't go so well is always, I think, a good relief, or something that is just taking up too much space in your mind. And I am definitely in that state. I definitely have a distracted mind. And I think part of it is because I've been traveling, so I've been able to focus on a bunch of different things. But now that I'm back home stationary for quite a bit, I then get all of the, crazy ideas, distracting ideas, just the mind won't turn off, the mind won't focus. So that's kind of where I'm at and kind of fighting through. I feel like it. So please share in the chat your rosebud thorn if you would like to, because we certainly love celebrating those roses, getting excited about the buds, as well as acknowledging and sending love and support on those thorns. So we'll see you soon. Thank you, everyone, for being so open and honest and vulnerable, especially around your rosebuds and your thorns. I always definitely think it's interesting when the same thing can be multiple. Maybe it's a rose, a bud, and a thorn all in one. I feel like those are really kind of unique weeks where clearly that was what was going to take all of your attention. But sending out some extra love and support for those that have run into some medical challenges with themselves or family members. Those are always very tough and tricky to navigate, not only from just the physical standpoint, but the mental and emotional toll that those can take. And then as well as celebrating all of the roses. And again, there are no roses. The size of the bouquet doesn't matter. It's just the amount of roses that you can find. So thank you everybody for sharing. We feel like this is a really great opportunity to just acknowledge the good, the bad, and everything in between, and certainly see what kind of week that you had, because it also can show maybe what are things you need to focus on for the week ahead. If you struggled to find some roses, maybe that could be something that you can repurpose one of the sections on the weekly pages for, so that you can kind of hone in a little bit more on that, because sometimes the rose is as little as I woke up on time, or I got out of bed, or I brushed my hair, I brushed my teeth. And for me, sometimes the bud is it's a new week, it's a new month. So there are no kind of rules or requirements with the type of like magnitude that these are or aren't. It's just a really special opportunity to reflect on those. So now we are going to move into the weekly planner itself. So please join us on page 52 and 53 in your June journal for those. And then, as always, if you need permission to repurpose these, absolutely. If you need to keep it the same, follow all of the instructions to kind of align, absolutely, that is what you need. So sometimes if you get a little lost in maybe how to set up your pages, ask yourself, what do you need? What's also, I think, great is that while there are times where it can be helpful to compare your progress from last week, there may be other times that maybe that's not productive. So kind of tread lightly for those. If you have a routine or something that you want to continue to carry over from week to week, absolutely. If you just had a type of week that you just kind of want to forgive and forget, then you can start anew. So whatever mentality you're there is no judgment here. Ask yourself what you need and move forward with it. So we'll provide some examples, and there can be some things there, but it definitely doesn't need to be absolutely in those things. It's absolutely what you need. So we're going to start at the top of page, need my notes. So start at the top of page 52 with "This week I want to feel." And so this can be the same way you want to feel that you felt last week. Maybe this is your word of the year. Maybe it's your word of the month. Maybe it's something as "I just want to feel 1% better." Maybe you want to feel more something or less something. Maybe you want to have a different feeling each day because you need a different mentality as you approach the day. But I usually always ask myself, how do I want to feel this time next week? And that becomes my kind of lighthouse, guiding light, grounding truth, so that when I am navigating that roller coaster of the highs and lows of the week, I can always come back to center with, this is kind of my end goal. This is my motivation for the week, because I want to feel this way. I want to feel this time next week. And again, they can be stickers, they can be affirmations, they can doodle. And sometimes maybe it's not a word, it's a combination of words, it's definitions, or maybe it's I want to be as happy as a manatee in a flower crown. I don't know how to describe that, but the manatee in a flower crown looks happy, so maybe that's the attitude I'm going to have. Because with it being my birthday, I absolutely have a crown, and I will be wearing it metaphorically throughout the week. So I'm going to turn on some music. Let us know how you want to feel this time next week, and we'll see you soon. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. And sometimes, like I said, it can be the same word that you had last time. Maybe that's kind of the continuity there. Sometimes, maybe it's not a word that you can describe, it's more of a feeling. But the opportunity to ask myself how I want to feel this time next week, like I said, is a really good kind of grounding component for me each week, especially as I set up the pages. So we are now going to move to the weekly major three goals, or maybe these are the weekly minor three goals. Maybe these are just three goals. Maybe these are insert however many number of goals you want to accomplish. And we are still on page 52, just now, bottom section. And so a couple different approaches here is you can certainly pick the kind of big three things you want to focus on. And those can be kind of, for me, it's usually the mental and emotional reminders. So hydrate, move, excuse yourself from the unimportant. Make yourself smile each day. Tell yourself something positive about yourself each day. Or you can kind of break it up into categories. Maybe it is a professional mind and body. Maybe it is a mind, body, and soul. Maybe it is a frog, fun and fierce, productive, peaceful, or powerful. Maybe you've broken up those categories and then you have a direct correlation to your weekly to-dos, as you see in some of those other examples. You will see a continuing kind of theme of bingo boards. Any section can be turned into a bingo board. Or maybe it's other forms of motivation. Maybe it's a learn, leap into, and let go. Maybe this is actually where you put your self-care or your routine because you like the grids. And again, sometimes it is just the kind of general ideas that you have. Maybe you want to feel a couple different ways this time next week. So for someone wanted to be calm, centered, and creative. So they had a calm mind, a strong and centered body, or a creative spirit. But then they can also be just things you want to do this summer, things you want to do this month. Maybe 3 songs that made you happy this week. Maybe it's how you're embracing the theme this week. So let us know, do you break this up into categories? Are these just kind of the big overarching reminders that you want to give yourself? Or are these just like the big 3 things that you need to get done in order to feel the way you want to feel this time next week? So I'm going to give you some time to work on this, and I'll see you soon. So what I do like about this particular section is, for me, it definitely tends to stay the same. I tend to have similar categories. And Kimberly also brought up another kind of different approach to the categories with an easy, medium, and hard goal, because I feel like these certainly can help kind of guide or at least kind of help prioritize your to-do list. So I certainly use both of these kind of together, the weekly goals and the to-do list. And what I have found is that the weekly to-dos for me certainly change not only week to week with just the things I need to accomplish, but I tend to change the approach for how I kind of set up my to-do list. And so a couple different ways to do that are the traditional to-do list. These are all the things that you need to do to get done to feel the way you want to feel this time next week. I am certainly a ta-da fan. And the difference between the to-do and the ta-da is that everything is to done. You just had a little celebration along the way on the ta-da side of things. But sometimes the ta-das don't help when it comes to getting some things done, especially if I find myself carrying over a lot of tasks from week to week. And that's where I certainly utilize the Eisenhower matrix with the do, decide, delegate, or delete. And again, this is just another way to categorize some of those. And so kind of using Kimberly's easy, medium, hard, maybe that's how you delineate your to-do list. And then for those that do live alone or by themselves, like me, delegation can be a little bit hard, but at the same time, it's also one of those things that we kind of do instinctually. So there are times where I don't want to cook, I don't want to clean up dishes afterwards, so I will absolutely delegate those meals out to a restaurant or takeaway. Same thing with delete. I don't delete anything. I tend to delay it. And that's just because I'm the only person that can do it. And sometimes if I have delayed it too much, I probably need some help. So that's usually where the delegation is also forced in there. So again, these are just different approaches to break down your to-do list so that you can accomplish them. Again, maybe these are just the different categories of the self, home, and work. The Pomodoro technique is a great way to kind of start some of the bigger tasks, break it into smaller tasks, and accomplish those individual pieces. And then, as always, gamification. A lot of us are big fans, so maybe it's a ta-da bingo. Another prioritization tool is need, want, hope. So these are the things you need to do, you want to do, or that you hope to do. Or even just reframing of here are all the calls you need to make, the errands you need to make, what follow-up you need to do, what things you need to schedule. Another gamification is, pick your image or iconography. These are all the tasks I need to complete to get to the top of the pyramid. Maybe none of these apply to you. These just want to be your weekly to-be reminders so that you can accomplish the goals so you feel the same way you want to feel this time next week. Same thing with maybe you struggled to find some roses, so these are maybe the happy thoughts. I did like the idea of here's my weekly to-don't list, and then maybe do this instead. So it's kind of that duality of, well, if I'm not doing this, how am I then kind of utilizing my time so that don't do, but do this? And same thing with maybe you need to focus on a particular task. So a cleaning bingo, maybe it's a weekly win. If you are in the Silk and Sonder app, someone did post that they were going to kind of approach it with sticky notes. And even Jennifer O said that she maybe found some transparent sticky notes, which would then really be magical because then you can move a lot of your to-dos across the different pages. So these are other kind of unique pages that you can do there as ways to kind of change up your list or change your priorities and help with that. And same thing I brought up with why tracking, kind of another kind of time management tool is tracking your time, so almost like a heat map. And so certainly if you don't really know what to do with the sleep tracker or the expense tracker, maybe that is an idea of how kind of you're tracking your time. And that's not necessarily to kind of punish yourself because you're not utilizing your time wisely. Sometimes I think it kind of sneaks up on with you, like how you spend a lot of your time. I've done it not only at work, but I also focused it on my personal life, where I realized just how much time I kind of spend wandering around because I can't remember what I was doing. So a lot of times it's more of the clarity and utilizing some of those tools around you. So let us know how you approach your to-do list in this particular section, and we'll see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing. What I do love about these socials is that you certainly find your people here, because a lot of the kind of same things that maybe you find inspirational are also the same things that you find annoying. There's definitely someone else there in the chat that can certainly hear you, feel you, see you with all of those things. And what is it about the Trader Joe's parking lot? All the ones I've been to, it's like they do it on purpose. So that is a fun kind of commonality. But I love that everyone can kind of utilize the to-do list and the approaches that work for them, because we know that each week may look different. Your week in June is going to look different than your week in September or your week in January, or even certainly your week in the holidays. So the opportunity to kind of adjust these each week and look at what you would need, I think, is really what's awesome and amazing, that you can start anew to figure out what works, what doesn't work. Because at the end of the day, we know that knocking things off of our to-do list is a huge satisfaction to help us meet our weekly goals so that we can feel the way we want to feel this time next week. So we are still on page 52. We're now at the habits and activities at the bottom of the page. And these are another kind of opportunity to track whatever habits and activities that you want to do. And those can be specific things, or they can be some of the kind of squishier ideas. And it's also a really great way to kind of check back and kind of use your journal. So sometimes it may not be the actual kind of things or habits and activities you want to do. Maybe it's the check-in with your intentions. Maybe it's check-in with your habits tracker. Because a lot of times the difference between the monthly habit and activity tracker versus the weekly, for me as monthly, those are the things I want to do each and every day. I do consider myself a creature of habit. So I have the same 3 habits and activities at the start. That is move, read, and journal. The difference for those is on a day-to-day basis, I reevaluate what is realistically going to be accomplished in those areas. The example I always use is move. Sometimes I have time for a full workout. Sometimes I have, you know, tennis social scheduled, so that's an automatic kind of 2 hours of my day. And then there are times where I'm so busy that really it's just going to be my commute to the library, commute to work, or just whatever errand I'm running. That is going to be my kind of movement. So the opportunity to kind of add that lens of reality has really helped me accomplish and be happier with my habit and activity tracker. Excuse me. But maybe these are habits and activities that you want to stop. Maybe you do want to set a goal of the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That is always a good focus point, but you don't have to set a goal. And again, maybe these are the kind of get enough sleep, be kind to yourself, read positive quotes, listen to upbeat music, kind of list of those things that you have to do and kind of just general ideas. But maybe you are on vacation or you have family visiting, friends visiting, something that you want to be a little bit more present in. So I definitely don't track habits and activities when I am on vacation. That gets a big old nope, that gets a big old sticker, and I am perfectly happy and content with it, because it's more of the things that I kind of want to do. I want to be present. I want to be involved in those things. And we also know that sometimes your weekdays look a little bit different than your weekends, so you can certainly break it up that way. And just because there are 5 lines there does not mean you need to do 5 habits and activities. Maybe you only need one to focus on 3, maybe it's 2, maybe it's 1 because you're not feeling well, and so it's just get better. So all of those reminders can be there. And then as always, as we had our summer solstice, so the longest day of the year, here are lessons from summer that you can always incorporate. And I know maybe a little late to the summer self-care bingo since the bingo is there, but I feel like these are always something fun that you can add, especially if you're wanting to try something a little bit new. I like that someone in the social always mentions that on the weekly habits and activities, these are kind of the trial periods for some of those habits and activities before they become a monthly habit. Which I think is really fun. I think it's a great way to try it out. You can almost consider yourself dating your activities. And so there are certainly ways to do that, and you can certainly break down the different approaches, because at the end of the day, this particular section shouldn't be triggering to you. This should be something that you're excited to incorporate, you're excited to acknowledge, and excited to kind of move forward in. And there are going to be days where it's what you need, it's your motivation, it gets you through the day. And then there's certainly going to be days where it's going to be the absolute hindrance. So being able to kind of navigate the mental kind of toll that that can take, I think is key, but it certainly shouldn't be triggering. And so that's where I feel like if we manage our expectations and set ourselves up, because there are going to be weeks that we absolutely nail it and everything is hitting and firing on all cylinders and it's great. And there are those other weeks where you're like, man, I definitely was not what I expected. I didn't perform as I was expected. And so you can either kind of pick yourself and move on, pick yourself and keep going. But that does mean we get a new week and a new approach to all of these. So let us know what habits and activities you are working on, and we'll see you soon. Thank you, everyone, for sharing your habits and activities. Love seeing all the different things that you are working on. And certainly, I feel like it's always a great way to kind of check in with the rest of your journal if you have kind of some extra space there. So now we're going to move to the second page, page 53, which a lot of these get repurposed. Um, the first section is the meal plan. So you can absolutely use this as a meal plan, or you can repurpose it. Maybe this is a real time kind of meal tracker if you're on a particular healthcare journey, especially that you can then provide to the medical professionals that you're working with. Someone also used this as the one good thing because maybe they were struggling to find some of those roses, so the opportunity to celebrate here. Some people, this is their to-do list or their apps and appointments. Maybe it's a meal plan for the soul. So this is where kind of some of those journal entries are. It's a way to kind of embrace the journal prompts through the particular theme. Maybe again, health, some sort of health tracker. The quotes or affirmations that are in the Silk and Sonder app, you can write those down there. Someone also listed their priorities for each day and how they filled their cup. The other ones can be a clothing plan, especially if you're traveling. I utilize it for work travel just so I can pack smarter and use some of the same things. You know, I don't need a bunch of shoes. So those are the things that I've worked at it for, especially if you work from home, making sure that you're kind of rotating everything. We have some amazingly creative people that use it as a haiku. So they make a haiku each day. Maybe it was how you found your happiness for that week, or even a word of the day. The Mind Body Health Plan is another one that gets repurposed. I liked the puzzle pieces that they thrive when all the pieces come together. So those are the things that they need to focus on to complete their puzzle. It also works with the alliterations, and sometimes it's the reflection of feel and need. Nathania is the one that suggests that one. She does it at the beginning of each day with what she feels, and therefore that's what she needs. So it's a really great way to do a reflection kind of how you need to approach your day. Sometimes it's a highlight of the day or just an observe and not absorb reminder. Maybe you need some other reminders, or how did you care for yourself? Maybe it's a reading log, a chore log, a decluttering log. You can also focus on the 7 types of rest. And then we have the shopping list, which is another section that can get repurposed. Maybe this is where your daily rituals are. Maybe this is where your mind map lives. All the bingo boards, self-care reminders. You know, I think at this point, any type of theme that a bingo board can have, we have probably seen it, but we love it, and we love any type of version of it. Maybe these are your to-be reminders. Maybe it's a don't buy and buy. I like the ideas for the mini work breaks as well as the bingo. So I'm going to give you a little bit of time just to kind of finish up this page, and we will see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing. And then the very bottom section is that I am loving, where you can absolutely shout and write down with the power of pen to paper anything that you're loving. Nothing big, nothing too big, nothing too small. All the things that are just currently making you happy. Really great way to close out the week. And with that being said, can you believe we have reached the end of this social? As always, we would love to continue the conversation in the app, and we do love to share your pages. So if you feel so inclined, we always love to include amazing examples, and it's also a great way to get inspiration. And then Jennifer is going to start putting some of the links in the chat, but here are those QR codes, specifically the ones with the feedback survey. We read all of those, so let us know what socials you want to see when you want to see them. That is how we continue to have all of these amazing socials, as well as our YouTube link. If you show up late or have to leave early, you can always go to the YouTube link. They have all of the socials there, all the different facilitators. So if you miss one, you can always find one. Especially with those days where you really need one, want one, or want to come back and dive in a little bit more. Highly recommend the journal prompt socials. Those are amazing. They're wonderful to attend in person, but if you can't, it helps at least kind of the less daunting task of approaching some of those. And then this is my playlist. I will include it. These are all of my kind of favorite songs that I always think about in the summertime, because again, this week is going to be all about the music that I like because it's my birthday. So hopefully we'll see you again at the next social. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your weekend and a wonderful week, and we will see you soon. Bye.